make sure the stream's all working so that we can save this. Yeah, okay, we're good. So, 10,000 years ago, great gods lived among us. Their enormous bodies and stunning intellects ruling with fear and reverence. Then came an uprising of the mortal folk, their sheer numbers and ingenuity proving to outmatch the dark gods, and those who served the light joined forces with the small folk to bring about the end of an age of terror. The dread gods were all sealed and forgotten, along with the bloody history of the uprising. One such god was Banshee. She was beautiful and terrible, a goddess of rot and death whose hammer has claimed many souls. She was sealed in a crypt built into a cliff, and to keep her from returning, a seal was built atop the cliff, and around that seal, a town. This town is Trunham, and for thousands of years it has been peaceful. But now the people become racked with sickness as the number of dead rise, and the thoughts and gaze of the people of Trunham turn towards the crypt below, Trunham Dark. You four have travelled far to come here, and it has been a hard road. Nonetheless, you arrived in the night and quickly found your way to the Cliff Catch Inn. The next morning, you've all woken to the smell of cooking breakfast, eggs, bacon, and some fresh kippers, if your sense of smell is anything to go by. Olga, the landlady, a fetching woman of buxom proportion and homely demeanour, bustles about preparing the food and drink for you all. As she comes over and places plates down before you, she smiles. So, you all came in last night talking about heading to the shrine? She asks. She's glancing around at the only other patron in the room to see if he's listening, though she seems satisfied that this lone hunter is uninterested, and continues. Through Trunham Dark? Yeah, it did sound like you're gonna reply there, Jade, and then it was just yeah. 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 That's fine. That's twice as many names. Rannoch. Either way, Olga has asked you a question. Someone better respond before she pulls out her broadsword. I heard you're looking to go to the shrine. Oh. And she sort of like straightens up and kind of seems much more interested. No. No, I just run this place, but well, I'm very interested. No one's been down there in years. It's it's not really a temple, dear. It's more a prison. And well, that's the name of it. She sort of like bites her lip for a moment and then says, I didn't come up with the name, I'm sorry. But it isn't a temple. It's a prison. And yes, that prison does have a shrine in it, but apparently that shrine is dedicated to the binding of whatever lies inside. She also said shrine, not temple. Somewhat. Troubles. Ah, well. You might say that. I mean, people are getting sick. There's been undead climbing the cliffs. No one really stays out late at night, which, as you can imagine, is bad for business. Well, they've been climbing the cliffs from the shrine. The shrine is built into the cliffs. You'd be better speaking to someone who knows more about this. Maybe Cuthbert. He runs the Emporium of Lights. It's a sort of potion curio shop in the center of town. If you don't like him, he can be a bit, well, he can be a bit painful, but he means well. There's also Enterop, who runs an apothecary. He knows about that sort of thing as well. Enterop. It's got a P at the end, not a C. Just FYI. Yeah. No, of course not. Just the last few months, it's been getting worse and worse. The fishermen on the cliff have been, well, very scared. I wouldn't know. I think maybe skeletons? Quite possibly. I'm sure he has several notebooks on this by now. I'm not sure. I mean, not to Trunham. Not to here, anyway. And everyone who comes to visit Trunham comes here. But, I mean, sort of, it's a small town. There are a couple other inns, but they're a bit kind of skeevy, and this one is like reasonably priced and very kind of. It's basic, but it's very comfortable. You know, it's a well-built building, comfortable furniture, good alcohol, and good food. But I mean, if you're looking for information, Cuthbert would really be the person to go see, unless you wanted someone to guide you down there. But I don't really know who that would be. I know a couple of people have. Old Tungsten. He went down there once, but well, he came back a little lighter than he left. Yeah, he lost an arm. No one else that I know of. Tungsten's a regular here, so we chat quite often, but well, he's a bit gruff, and he doesn't talk much anyway. He runs a smithy, but well, he's mentioned before that something bit his arm off, and I think he was a bit beaten up about it, to be honest. Oh, he doesn't stay here. He just drinks here. But okay, my bad. But well, he's the only one I know. I mean, I don't know everyone, but gods no. No, that's well, excursions are generally frowned upon, to be honest. People are always worried that if you go down there, you might let out whatever's hiding. Well, that's my thinking, and I'm glad you're going, but that's why no one's tried to map it before. Mm-hmm. So, Trunham doesn't really have any dedicated temples per se. There's a couple shrines, and there's definitely a shrine to the god you serve. Though, in particular, you're not really sure of any sort of contact. Yeah, not in particular, no. You're sort of just sent out. This place is fairly backwater, kind of thing. So up until now, there hasn't been much interest in it. But you're kind of going out to see what you can see, kind of thing. If that makes sense. Well, of course. I'd like that. my name's Olga. She like blinks a few times and blushes, sort of like glancing around back at the lone hunter, just like, I hope no one saw that kind of thing. But, well, not necessarily that she hopes no one saw it, but just sort of slightly taken aback. Mm-hmm. No, you can definitely get a profile on him. His like hood's down. He's got kind of very messy, like spiked hair. Not necessarily spiked, but you know when your head gets kind of sweaty and you run your fingers through it, sort of goes a bit wild. He's got kind of like a ruddy complexion, acne scars, tousled, yeah, and not particularly pleasant on the eye. But he carries like a slightly interesting. It's like a black recurve bow made of some kind of very, very dark black wood, and it's got little gold ring inlays by the handle. But apart from that, no, he's just dressed like a typical hunter. You know, traveling cloak, game bag. Very well. So you head out onto the cobbled streets of Trunham, and it's a very small place, especially to you. Everything's fairly claustrophobic, pushed together. The people, kind of, you get quite a few stares just being new in town, and most people know most people. But you sort of make your way towards the centre, and you can see this a kind of fairly middling-sized castle, kind of set back against the cliff, and kind of as you move into the centre of town, you see this huge building on your right. Huge for Trunham anyway, small for what you might know. But it looks much more clean and well looked after than most of the buildings around it. And you see in this big kind of gold painted lettering, it says the Royal Bank of Trunham. And you see kind of outside of it is like a kind of courtier looking fellow with a red and gold kind of tabard over his chest, just kind of standing with his hands behind his back. But you can sort of make your way towards whomever you would like to. Are you heading for... It is curious, not necessarily that strange. You know, it was probably, you get the impression it was probably set up by the royal family specifically for their needs, and everyone else sort of just has accepted it. Kind of a bit of a royal boondoggle, but you know, it maybe smacks of not the best management. Maybe not the most generous royalty, but nothing untoward necessarily on the surface. But yeah, who would you be heading for first, do you think? Okay. Well, you head down a side street upon the direction of a local and you find yourself standing in front of the Emporium of Lights, a small brown shop, kind of fairly dusty window that doesn't give you much view inside. Upon opening the door, there's a little tinkle of a bell, and you see like potions and lots of strange, kind of weird-looking objects that aren't necessarily standard fare. There's a kind of large crystal ball sat on a desk in the center, and just books and paper covering every surface. No sign of an owner, though, as of yet. There is not that you can see. The bell kind of tinkled when you opened the door, but no one seems to have reacted. Yeah, sure. So you kind of lean over and have a look at one of the pages, and you can see it's a study of local fungi, and kind of some like anatomical drawings. Is it anatomical of the mushrooms? I don't know. Some technical drawings of mushrooms. Yeah, that's probably technical drawings. And you see that kind of to the bottom of one page, there's a drawing of this one mushroom in particular that sort of is with some kind of small dots that appear to be spores coming off it. And it says, like, there's a name kind of scribbled in very, like, doctor's handwriting, but it appears to say myrophage. No, just like, there's not much other writing on it. It just appears that he's labelled his drawing. But as you kind of step further into the shop, you can see there's a small kind of back room. And there's what appears to be a small green snake kind of wiggling just out of view. But it's on the... You can kind of see it through the door. And as you sort of look closer, it actually appears to be the end of a green tail. Kind of swaying back and forward on the ground. And you hear a sort of like jump and the sound of an ink bottle falling and someone swearing, and kind of peering around the corner is a tiefling. He's bright green skin and these sort of blue-tipped horns. He is quite kind of handsome. He's got like good kind of high cheekbones and a strong jaw, but he's very, very skinny and has very thick glasses on, and he's currently wearing these fairly kind of pale yellowish gold kind of robes that are all splattered with ink. And he kind of stares up at you with these huge magnified eyes. He goes, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know there was anyone in." Yes, that's me. And he kind of stands up to his full height. And kind of, he's like trying to wipe his hands on his robes. He's only about 5'6". Quite small. He kind of bustles past you. Welcome to the Emporium of Light. What can I do for you? He like blinks very rapidly in your direction. You mean the undead skeletons climbing the cliff? Yes, 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 yes. And he like kind of spins around and like grabs a couple notebooks that are lying around and kind of pushes papers over, kind of flicks through them to a page, and he holds up one, and he shows you a sketch of just a head, and it looks to be more than just a skull. There is like skin stretched kind of over this, and like these large kind of holes and like broken sections of the skin that reveal the bone beneath, and like broken smashed teeth in the jaw, and these hollow empty eye sockets, and you can see like small kind of like mold and algae kind of growing inside the skull cavity and stuff. These ones. Mm-hmm. They've been... Yes, they've been coming up in droves. I drew it. Well, yes. One of the fishermen brought it in. Yes, he caught it in a net and just dragged it up so I could draw it, but... Well, yes. Then we got rid of it. He like flips through to and you can see what appears to be a series of tally charts on some kind of calendar. He says, well, the 4 months before this is when it really started as a regular occurrence. But, yes, the last 2 weeks, there's been one at least every other night. He shakes his head. Seemingly random. Yes. So far, 37. Oh, God, no. 37 in total. Yeah, there's guards. They're all wearing that same kind of red and gold colour. Well, yes, when it's only 1 or 2, but... Well, I'm worried there's a bigger attack coming. Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? If there's lots and lots coming up in one every other day, then they're gradually increasing. Look, 2 days ago, there was 3 in one night. That's getting a lot. No. It's random, but it's been getting steadily more. Yes. No. Well, yes, I saw lots of things, but not many people going down. None, actually. No. There was a party, I think, maybe 11 years ago, but that was before I was here. Yes, I think so. Well, I've been trying to get people to go down for weeks now, but no one seems to want to. They're all too scared. Yes, old Tungsten was one of them, but he won't tell me about it. I think he finds me annoying. Yes, he can be. I think it's the arm. Some of them had some scraps of clothing, but they were all very damaged and old. No weapons or anything. Well, lots of them come up with their ears having been nibbled by rats, but there's been some variety. A few orcs, definitely mostly human at least. I think maybe an elf, but I wouldn't count on it. That's just what the fishermen said, and they are, well, they're not usually very accurate with their descriptions. Exactly. Discovering ancient, dark history. That's its own incentive. Well, I've tried to do some research on Banshee, but there's not much out there. It seems she was interested in decay and death and things, so, you know, the mushroom zombies, they kind of make sense. No. I'd expect, well, I'd expect some kind of algae growth, maybe slippery surfaces. He shrugs. Oh, of course. Well, I have lots of potions and that sort of thing. I'm a bit of an alchemist. But also, my spell baubles. Well, yes, I've imbued small trinkets with interesting abilities. Oh, all sorts. What are you interested in? Well, let me see. He like rumbles around and or rummages around in some drawers and shelves and things. Pulls out a small like tiny little vial, and inside there appears to be a kind of crushed up dead pixie, and he holds it out and he says, this one can let you see magic, but only once. Or this one, and he pulls out like a little glass bead. Looks like it's kind of filled with like a little bit of smoke or like moving gas. You can shake it, and he shakes it, and it makes like a big bright light. No. And I also have about 50. Yes. No. I have 50 of the beads. I only have one use of the seeing magic pixie. Yes. How much? For the light? The light is 1 gold. The bead is not 1 use, but the pixie is, and that's 15. Yes. Actually, more things if you want. This one, he holds up a small rusty key. This one can protect you from elements. For about an hour. You can choose. Yes, 1 use. Yes. Well, I've only got 1 key, but I've got a few other things that do it. And he holds up a small, like a butter knife, and a small 4-leaf clover that has been like pressed and preserved. $250 a piece. Yes. Well, here's the thing. If you enchant things that look magical, when people come around and steal your things, they're gonna steal the things that look magical. Crystal ball. He points to this massive crystal ball. It does nothing, but it's there because that's what a thief would take, not a pixie in a jar. Thank you. Yeah. And it does have like a slight kind of coloured sheen to it. As he grins up at you for your compliment, his kind of mouth opens and you can see he has 2 fangs at the front of his mouth, but they sort of curve backwards. Like they're ingrown. adding colour to the character. No. God's braces. Of course. Before you go, I have a favour to ask. If that's okay. Well, I am not very popular here. People don't really like me. And I think a little bit of that is maybe my voice, and he sort of like glances away. But also my race, you know. They think that these evil things are to do with me because I'm a tiefling. And if you find anything down there that... Well, if you find any information about these kind of things not being related to tieflings, I would like it very much. Yeah, tieflings. Yeah, tieflings are not common where you're from, but people are fine with them. They're just people. He nods and kind of turns his big eyes on you. Thank you, sir. What's your name? It's very good to meet you. And he like takes your hand with two hands and shakes it. That's wonderful. Tannis? Oh! Nice to meet you too, Mr. Rannoch, sir. Well, in the interest of helping you on your journey, I insist you take this. And he will rummage around and find a potion of healing and give it to you, Avol. No, no, it is just a bog standard potion of healing, as one would expect. I'm sure you will. Well, is there anything in particular you're looking for? Or would you just like to browse? Help yourself? Yeah? Yeah. You find a dried frog of Featherfall. There is a bright green and blue feather, which has a shield. There is a weighted die that apparently, when rolled, will create a silent image. These are all within your price budget. These are all 150 gold, by the way. And maybe the most interesting one you find is a very small piece of crystal that glows like very, very faintly. And when writing is perceived through it and illuminated by the light, it will be readable in any language. Mm-hmm. A frog of Featherfall, or a feather of or a feather of shield. Shield feather, full frog. Of Featherfall. Okay. Of course. Okay. Yeah. So I think what I meant by that was you can all roll your starting gold on top of your gear, because I assume the temples or whatever wouldn't send you out with nothing. Depends on class, doesn't it? No. Yeah, Rogue gets 4d4 times 10. Barbarian is 2d4 times 10. Jade, what are you? Monk. 5d4. Yes, it's very useful. Yeah, the spells are all one. The 150 ones are all one use. Cuthbert, how tall is Tanith? Okay, so she's about the same height. So he'll lean into you and say, but if you're interested, I have something a little darker. Yes. And he will hold up a small, what appears to be basically like a little loop of metal, and then on that is a small model of a raven, but it was in flight, but the two wings have been broken off at some point. And he says, "This is well, you can use this one to hex your enemies." Yeah, that's fine. He says, and he like puts the hex back in a box, closes the box, puts the box in another box, and closes that. Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm here at any time. Like, even if it's dark outside, I'll still be here. I sleep in the back. He points, and there's like a little kind of, not a bed, but like a round nest of pillows and blankets in the back room. Of course. Just come on by whenever you feel like it. Yes, he's on the far edge of town. If you just head back to the main street and walk as far north as you can, you'll find him. Interrupt? Mm-hmm. He's, well, I suppose he's a competitor of mine, but he's a friend. He's got an apothecary, a bookshop. It's down on the main street, very successful. But, yes, he's a bit nervous, but he sells good things. Expensive, though. Well, we share most of our research, but maybe some of the plants and things he knows a bit better than me. Most of these sketches are his. Yes. Yes. I do. Yeah. Conversation complete. This shop is 100% skeleton free, and that's an AVAL guarantee. Okay. So you, yeah? So, when I say shrine sea, by the way, I don't necessarily mean a full temple. I.e., the rotting shrine is not a temple. There's just a shrine. And same with the gods here. There's not a temple to Bahamut, but there's a Bahamut shrine. Yeah. Yeah, so there's no like priests of Bahamut, just the people who keep him. Okay. Yeah. No, it's taxidermy frog. It's brown. It's dry though. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, to be honest, there's a couple. The best place to go though is Marvin's. That's on the main street. Welcome. Yeah. So you follow Cuthbert's instructions, and you eventually begin to hear the rhythmic ting 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 of a blacksmith, and you come across a very run down small building. It's like a burned out shack with a very, very large set of bellows, and there's a man hammering out a blade, and he's sort of like got this kind of very heavy weight placed on the sword that he's currently hammering to kind of keep it in place. But it is very, very laborious with one arm. He's extremely muscular. You know, he's got that blacksmith's build, but he looks to be in his mid to late 60s. And he sort of like turns as you approach and dices the sword, but doesn't say anything, just watching you with a sort of distrusting expression. Mm-hmm. What do you want? Aye, that's me. You do see a few kind of swords and axes. They do look good actually. They are sort of above standard quality, definitely. You know, they're not swords you would get standard issue. They're definitely kind of worth a bit more than that. But you think it probably takes him ages to make one. He frowns very deeply and his brows knit into one. Information. He kind of grits his teeth. I was. Information. He shakes his head and kind of like turns as though looking to someone else to be like, what an idiot this guy is. And he says, look, that place is... it's just death. Chaos, that's all you'll find down there. Yeah, well, I'd rather you be down there than me. Kind of gives you like a once-over. Yeah, I can understand that, I guess. Yeah. You wouldn't catch me dead down there. Yeah. I mean, the first place you'll come into is... that's the room with the keys. You gotta put them in the right holes. You know how it works. And then there's the fucking rot bags. Ugh. He like looks down at his missing arm, kind of slightly dramatically. One of those bastards bit my arm clean off. Swallowed my fucking hammer too. It was magical. That was back when I could make best weapons you've ever seen. But now I'm armless, hammerless, and penniless. Thanks to that fucking shrine. It's, yeah, something like that, but bigger, not human. It's like nothing I've ever seen, really. Just a big fucking mouth. No, it's I don't know, it's got hundreds of legs and it scuttles about in the dark and then comes out of nowhere. It's more like a bug. And, of course, there's the fucking mushrooms as well. You'll be meeting those right away. Keep your mouth and nose covered, whatever you do. Don't set them alight, whatever you do. Because that's exactly how you get a face full of spores. Ugh, no, it's been too long. There's like a tablet with a clue on it, I think. I don't know. Yeah, way past. Those are the mushrooms. Now, I've got a little work to do. But if you find my hammer while you're down there, I'd pay to have it back. Yeah, smithing hammer, but well, not really. It's got a shine to it. It's magic. But honestly, you'll more know it when you touch it. Not much finesse. There's a few daggers, but it's more sort of standard fare. Old Tungsten will turn to you, Tanner, and say, "You done this before?" Much appreciated. And he'll hand you like a pair of tongs and some gloves and take up his hammer. Guys, I can't believe C has already started like romantic things with one of the NPCs in this game. So you come to Marvin's. It's a bustling or it's off the bustling streets. Looks like he's doing very well for himself. You know, he's the only shop in town. Can you guys hear me again? Sorry, our Wi-Fi's getting fixed this week, hopefully. Not that that should have anything to do with my connection, but it seems to. So yeah, he says, welcome, strangers, what can I get for you? Oh, of course. Yeah, well, sure, I could give a quick adjustment to one of our climbing kits. I mean, we get fishermen in here. I was talking for like a good 20 seconds without looking up. Okay. Yeah. So he says that, and he pulls down a very well packaged climbing kit, like brown paper bag and string. Kind of undoes it and takes a punch and adds a few extra holes to one of the harnesses before repacking it for you. That's 15 gold. Anything else I can get for you while you're here? Well, you got food. Chalk? Yes, I've got chalk. Pulls out like a small box and gives it a rattle and puts it down beside the climbing kit. 2 copper. Yeah, have you got rations, spare clothes, maybe things to make a fire? It gets chilly down there, I've heard, so might be worth a cloak or two if you're interested. Oh, I've got just the thing. Yeah. He pulls out several oversized Jesus Christ. Several oversized handkerchiefs. And hands those over. And they'll go for 5 copper each. And as for cloaks, he has what he calls climbing cloaks, which are like very, very thick cloaks that are weighted all along the hem so that they don't flap about as much in the breeze. Those are 3 gold each. I could certainly do some beeswax, but you might be worth, if you're looking for something a bit more specialized, it might be worth heading over to Enterops. But I could certainly do some wax for you if you like. Of course. And he kind of go over to a small wooden box on the counter, open it, and he's got like some beeswax, and he kind of takes it out on his hands and begins rubbing it across it. 2 silver for the masks, 12 gold for the cloaks. And 15 gold for the climbing kit. Okay. Yeah. So you're heading down below, are you? Well, it's about damn time someone did something. That's what I say, anyway. I mean, not myself. I'm just a humble merchant, but... King. Yeah. It's... He, like, sighs, and you get the impression this is sort of like... He's about to give you the kind of local spiel. Well, the King Ingvald is now entirely well, he purchased Trunham and the surrounding area a few years back, all for himself, and well, some aspects of his rule have been well received. He puts on a good feast, but he's not particularly conscientious when it comes to the welfare of his citizens. Not to say he's bad, he's just not fully in touch, shall we say. Yeah, you might have known. It was like 15 or so years ago. Ish, yeah. Yeah, he was some kind of vassal title. But yeah, very rich in the sort of financial sector. Yeah, he was like born wealthy and knew how to spend his money in the right ways. Not less and less, just never really has been, you know. He likes to hire people to deal with problems for him. He's not very hands-on, shall we say, and well, he doesn't seem very interested in dealing with this. The corpses that climb the cliffs are generally dealt with by the guards, and he sees that as good enough, so... If he was going to deal with it, yeah, he would deal with it in that way. Excellent. Absolutely. I look forward to it. Pleasure to meet you. And he'll kind of give you a nod and immediately go to serve another customer. just for interest, like from what you guys may or may not have heard of the royalty in this town, is so like a Robert Baratheon type. You know, he is not much interested in the actual running of his newly formed country, and more just in the sort of enjoying being king, the good sides of it rather than the responsibility. Very well. Should we take a quick 5 minute there and return to descend? Awesome. Be right Oh, sure. Yeah, 15 gold. Drop it. Unless you just want, like, some paper and some parchment, and then it will be significantly less. But, like, the full kit has, like, you know, compass, sextant, all that sort of thing. Yeah. Would just like to say that Cuthbert is the best of us. So that voice was a decision I made quite a while ago, but the lisp, like I have friends who have that kind of lisp rather than the, like, you know, the lisp where it's like this. It's like the one in the back of your teeth, and it's quite hard to keep going on, like, especially with sibilant words where there's like lots of S's. You can't really do it like lots of times in a row. But yeah, these little ingrown tooths. No, that was just me, like, choking, trying to make sure you could still understand me. But if you had been like, why is your accent dropping? I would have been like, it's not dropping, and then made it a plot point. But where he's been lying to make it cute. But no, I'm glad you didn't, because again, that distracts from the purpose. Cuthbert, hero to the people. Oh, typical. Yeah, he's mid-60s. How old did you say she was? Damn. Oh, man. So, like, all the time that you haven't been speaking, she's just been on her phone. Right. Yes. Yeah. A trail of sweets. He does. He has anything you could ever desire. 2 copper for a greasy pencil. Mm. Dude, you and I knew each other when I was 19. I'm, I feel like attacked. I think that. Very well. So, you all make your way out of town, heading westward, following the path down that is the road trudged by the fishermen every morning. And you come to the cliff, and you see that there are stairs cut into the cliff. You also see that hammered into the like stone at the top of the cliff are like about 50 very, very heavy duty like iron spikes with loops, and lots of them have like taut ropes going over the edge of the cliff. And so you begin taking this. Yeah. 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 This is, yeah. So this is the way. You would have been told that by someone at some point, presumably. Yeah. Yeah. So you take the stairs down, and the stairs kind of wind back and forth beneath the ropes, and so you're sort of like staring up, and then the stairs kind of end a small ways down the cliff, and come onto this sort of flat plane. And you're kind of looking up and seeing the ropes, and if you look down, you see like the fishermen are sort of sitting on the rocks at the foot of the stairs with the ropes kind of like holding these heavy baskets that they're kind of filling with fish as they're dragging in their nets. And you kind of follow this path on the cliff around, and it sort of curves around, and you finally come to a landing, and on that landing is a very small doorway. It's nondescript and has like no writing or anything around it. It's just like an opening in the cliff, and you can see a very thick darkness beyond that seems like you could almost touch it. What do you do, I guess, is the question. Sure. You hear the sounds of rock clattering against rock as it skitters into the room. Nothing else happens. Yeah? Yeah, so you can see beyond several signs in common, all saying keep out, danger, and then there's one a bit further back that looks a bit older that says you know not what lies beneath. But these are all like man-made signs, kind of made of this old like driftwood that have been erected here. So further in, the kind of opens out into another room. Does everyone have dark vision or things that can light? That's just smart dungeon crawling. All right. So you head into this other room. It's quite small, but it's big enough for you all to fit very comfortably. Oh, no. Yeah, sorry. How much? Where did you get to? Okay. Oh, right. Jesus. I need to keep a closer eye on that. This pisses me off. So, you see, the room is large enough for you all to fit comfortably, and you see this saltstone tablet sitting in the center like an obelisk. And it's got some writing engraved in Elvish on it even. It says, below lies only doom and darkness, an unending passage of rot and ruin, the tomb to a goddess of filth and frenzy, where the dead walk, decaying and drowning. Turn back. I'll put that in the Facebook chat for you peeps. Beyond that, you see a very, very large door, perfectly round, and like made of this very, very dark stone that contrasts with the rest of it. The door has 8 holes in it, kind of shape or in 2 kind of vertical lines, 4 on each side. And between each kind of pair of holes that are in line with each other, there is a small kind of carved line going between them. So it's like 8 kind of dumbbells almost going down the center of the door. And lying just in a random heap on the floor are these 8 cylindrical keys. All with these big kind of round engravings on the back, or these big kind of flat back pieces that look like they would kind of jut out from the door, with these sort of flat pieces on them, or these carved designs. Yeah, kind of. And you can see, like, on the back of the saltstone are several or 8 like hooks for the keys, but the keys are just lying in a pile currently. Yes, so on the butt of each key is a slightly different marking. You see a dagger plunging into a heart on one. You see one of them that has no iconography on it at all, but is just painted entirely black. You see a greenish one with an apple and 3 kind of wavy lines vertically coming off of it. You see one with a destroyed castle. One that is like really rusted and dirty key, that has a spiderweb pattern on the base of it. You see another one with a drawing of a man clutching his head. You see one of a skull that is like overgrown with plants. And the last one has a hand reaching up from beneath 2 horizontal wavy lines. It does. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Is that the starting order? The keys do not turn. Though, that is about to be what I was going to say. No problem. You see the top two and the line in between begin glowing a faint green. Furthermore, you see the third one down, i.e. 5 and 6, glow the same color. Number 2, 1, 2, 5, and 6 are correct. If you swap those two over, all 4 lines glow. Yes. Yeah, I realized, like an idiot, just after I finished speaking, I actually read them out to you in order. Which I don't mean to do, but there you go. Because that's how I'd like worked it out myself, and then I was like, okay, we'll jumble that up at some point, and then forgot to. No, you got it. Yeah, you got it. No, so the both of them have to be right for the pair to glow. First try. Everyone else check the clues. So the door opens and then kind of rolls aside to reveal a short staircase leading deeper into Trunham Dark. As you descend the stairs, you see a kind of bundle lying kind of across some of the stairs, and as you get closer, you get this horrible stench emanating from it, and you realize it's a corpse. A man lying face down. He's wearing this red armor that's kind of browned out with age, and you see like a small golden patch on the arm. There's a sword lying beside him, rusted. Yeah, he looks like a god. But he does have a golden patch on his arm, which you haven't seen any gods wearing. There's no actual insignia on this one. It's just like a rectangle. Maybe a kind of indicator of rank. Yeah. Yeah. He's face down on the stairs. So, yes. So as you get closer, you kind of peer and you see that his face is kind of turned away, and he's got fairly long hair, but you can see there's skin there. But there's like a weird kind of discoloration just below his ear that's slightly green. Okay, you roll him over, and there's this horror movie reveal. You see his face is like completely ruined, open mouth, like eyes wide, though the eyes are gone from the sockets. The skin is still plastered to his face, but there is like mold and fungi like covering every inch of it. Inside his mouth, like growing on his teeth, like coming out of his nose. He is being consumed in death, and there's this foul aroma that pours off as you move him. He does look to have been dead for many, many years, but whatever these things are, they are slow feeders, it seems. Yeah. So his possessions are all intact. You find a coin purse with 30 gold in it, and actually inside that coin purse as well is a small receipt for a deposit in a vault at the bank. Aside from that, there's a dagger or two and the sword. Yeah, the daggers are too. They were fairly standard issue from what you've seen of the guards around here. Not tungsten standard. Yeah, you could, as long as you have that piece of paper. It essentially says something like it says on an English banknote, where it's like, the bearer of this receipt may redeem, the contents of vault. No, the bearer of this receipt may redeem contents of X vault. It's like bearer bonds. No, it's sewn on. It's embroidered. Not that you've seen wandering around. No, nothing like that. All right. Sure. Make me an investigation check. You think it's free and clear of bits. Yeah. So, you continue down the stairs until the cut-in stonework ends and opens out into a kind of more or cavernous room. You kind of see that the ceiling kind of dips a bit and then continues on. And this room is like, it's not being refined in any way like the staircase in the first room had. There's stalagmites, stalactites, there's a couple of pools of tepid water. Like you see mushrooms kind of growing everywhere, but none of that, flesh-eating fungus. As well as this, like you kind of move through, and above you, after the ceiling dip, you can see that this room actually climbs up at an extremely steep incline on this like very uneven ground with stalagmites like kind of arcing up out of the ground and small rivers of like bubble or streams more of little babbling brooks of water that run down from the top, and you can see it kind of levels off at the top, but this room sort of opens out into this kind of very strange, very tall room. It's about 60 feet up. Sure. Make me an investigation check. Yeah, you do find one actually. It's sitting just beside one of the stagnant pools of water. And you think it's a pretty good representation of the mushroom you saw before. Yeah, sure. I imagine you've got, like an old wrapper from one of your rations or something. Indeed. So, are you going to attempt to climb your way up? It is it's not sheer, but it's very, very steep and will require scrabbling to some extent. But there are lots of stalagmites and rough patches to sort of lean against for a break if you need. No. No. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, so, Rannick, if you make an athletics check, and everyone else can have it at advantage. Yeah. Sorry, I was waiting on everyone else's rolls as well. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, no, yeah, that is good enough, and you begin making your way up. Yes, please. Okay. So, everyone except Tanith succeeds. The DC was 13. So you, climbing up. So everyone begins to make their way up. Tanith, you put one of your feet down, and it just the like ground you put it on is extremely slippy all of a sudden, and your foot slides out from under you and you just smack into the ground. You will take 1 point of bludgeoning damage. And you, thanks to the rope though, you are able to hold on. Though several kind of rocks like skitter down down the cliff, and the noise kind of echoes around. At the top, Rannick, you yeah. At the top, Brannick, you see a very large boulder off to one side. The room is kind of flattened out up here, and you've got kind of a 30-foot square type space to play with. And you see that this rock begins to move, and it kind of pushes itself up, and there's like a kind of very bright white in contrast to the color of the rock, kind of poking out from underneath it. And you realize that this is actually a gigantic mushroom that is like expertly camouflaged as a rock. But this mushroom like pulls itself up from out of the ground where it sort of anchored itself, and you can see that there are like very large green blinking eyes just beneath the hood of the mushroom, built or into the stalk. And you can see like a wide brimmed mouth opening at the bottom of it. Let's roll initiative. Everyone is still partway down except Rannick. Yes. You boy. $23 for Aval, was it? Okay. Yeesh. So, Aval. In fact, I'll give a quick overview. So the mushroom is he's about 15 feet from you at the moment, Rannick, coming out at the just next to the doorway that's in front of you, at the top here. Rannick, you have just climbed the top. Aval, you are 10 feet below him. Lenore is 10 feet below that. And Tanith is 10 feet below that. So Tanith, you are 30 feet from the top. Lenore, you are 20. Aval, you are 10. And Rannick, you are at the top alone. Yeah, you no longer need to test, but you will need to use your movement. Yeah. An 18 hits. Seven damage. It lets out this horrible shriek that echoes around the room. And you see these bright white spores pouring off the wound that you've struck it. Rannick. It does. I'm afraid. Very well. Lenore, it's your go. It's going to take 40 feet of movement to get you to the top. 40 feet, because you're 20 feet away. So it's twice as much to climb. Oh, it's like 30 feet from the edge. Or 15 feet from the edge even, sorry. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, you can get right up on it, pretty much. Alright. It's gonna turn to you, Lenore, and it kind of like, you see the kind of cup of it swell up and then kind of squeeze down, and this flush of purple and green spores come flying out the bottom towards you. I'm gonna need a Constitution saving throw with advantage, please, because of your mask. Okay, so you feel the spores kind of like fizzing on your skin a little bit, but you can block your mouth and nose, and there is no effect upon you. And then it will open its jaws and swing it for an attack at you. Oh, fuck me. These things hit hard, bro. That's an 11 to hit. And very well, that's its go. Tanith. It's going to take you 60 feet worth of movement to get up. You think it would not. Yeah, it doesn't do fire damage. Yeah, I'm just thinking. Roll me a d20. Yes, you do. 11. Yeah, I imagine you sort of like push out with your toes so you can see. Very nice. And back to the top, Aval. He does. Yeah, it's still continuing to poof spores. But these spores seem to have no effect on you. No. So there's these white spores that pour off at each time it gets hit, and when it does mean spores, they're different colours. Snurkaturg. Hits. Ooh, boy. All right. So yeah, your arrow flies true and strikes one of the eyes of this thing, and it yelps in pain. Rannoch. Andrew. 22 hits. 9 points. This... Nice. So yeah, you're putting like indents into the very soft flesh of this thing. Lenore. $18 hits. Oh boy. A 12 misses, I'm afraid. As it kind of ducks its head and you strike the hard carapace that sits on the top of the cup of this thing. It's then going to turn to Rannoch and eject yellow spores in your direction. Constitution saving throw with advantage, please. You succeed, and the yellow spores have no effect on you. But it does swing in for one of these brutal fucking attacks that it has. But that's only going to be a 7 to hit. Damn. This thing can't hit for shit, apparently. Tanith. Yeah, so you climb over the edge and you see it 15 feet from you. Yeah. Six. Very nice. This thing is not looking good. Aval. Hits. Okay. Your arrow just flies through and just embeds in this thing almost to the fletching, and it just lets out this horrible little gurgle and collapses on its side. And you immediately see like spores begin leaking from it and just devouring it, but ignoring you as this thing dies. That thing does 64 if it hits. Yeah. I did not read that when I was... Yeah, easy. Yeah. How many did you fire? Okay. Roll me a d4. On a 4, you are able to retrieve them all. So the way this is going to work for arrow retrieval is you just roll a d4, and that's basically the percentage of arrows you can get back. So 25, 50, 75, 100. Just a bit simpler maths than doing D100. But yeah, you've defeated this creature. The room beyond, you see there's like the doorway appears to be man-made, and it is a return to form of structured, paved and cobbled walkways and doorways beyond. But we will get to that next session. call it there for tonight.